Hello, and welcome to this review of both wizard subclasses from the Crooked Moon book. Last stop before the finish line, and it's just the nerds in the way this time. Small caveat, this is the first time I've neither played with or as the subclasses, so if I balls anything up somewhere, feel free to politely point it out in the comments so we can all learn together. I'm sure you'll be nice. The Philosopher and Occultist cover very different fantasies, so let's see how they stack up against the subclasses such as Abjurer and Bladesinger, shall we? The Philosopher subclass is attempting to distill the very fabric of reality, but without the scientific knowledge of atoms and subatomic particles. However, they instead deal with quintessence, at least that's the pharmaceutical name for it. At level 3, the Philosopher takes a page from the Artificer playbook, and can use alchemist tools as a spell focus. You gain a bonus cantrip called Dissolution, a fairly uninteresting spell. You're incentivized to use it to finish foes off to get a reward. If you do manage to dissolve a small or larger creature or object, you gain 1 quintessence as a result. Quintessence is very valuable, as it can be used in place of 100 gold's worth of spell materials, or in place of 50 gold to scribe a new spell into your spellbook. This feature also allows you to use it to change any spell's damage type to force. Now, over the course of a campaign, this is going to add up to a lot of extra money. Just make sure your DM gives you ample opportunity to spend it on stuff you actually care about. And don't sleep on the force damage shift either. While not much is vulnerable to force damage, nothing really resists it. So you can cast a wall of fire in the lava temple and watch as all the fire elementals ironically burn to death. At level 6, you've reached a leveling point on the Dissolution spell, making it much more reliable, and now you gain a new way to use it to increase the casting level of spells. This is not capped to 1 level, but to half your proficiency, so 1 or 2 per spell in most played games. This can also take spells higher than you normally cast them. Level 7 Bigby's Hand deals 98 force damage per turn. As a level 9 character, that's a heck of a lot. You could also use this to triple target a hold monster spell to really ruin an encounter. You basically get to do the broken stuff at a level that you're not supposed to be able to do the broken stuff, as long as you find the right spell for it. At level 10, you gain a very powerful out of combat ability to use creation and fabricate spells. I think most people use this to generate money or spell components for others in your party. But like with Scribblenauts, the possibilities really are just limited by your imagination. Well, that and the actual limitations on the spells themselves. At level 14, you're going to need to spend some downtime dissolving objects, because you're going to need 10 quintessence to create a Philosopher's Stone. With this phylactery-like object, you can spend even more quintessence to either pass saving throws or increase your spell save DC. You also gain some other benefits like not aging, and the stone can be used as part of a spell to scry or bring you back to life. Overall, this subclass requires a bit of at-the-table balancing. I mean, you can't just be allowed to have infinite quintessence, turning every single chair or stool you find into a resource. If you are allowed to do this, then every spell you cast is going to be upcast and changed to force damage. I think the upkeep for quintessence might stumble newer players a bit, either slowing down play to figure out a way to get some, or just struggling to find any opportunities at all to make it. The out of combat utility is also very complicated, with creation and fabricate both requiring a lot of confidence, creativity, and deep rule understanding to use properly. The level 6 features doing a lot of the heavy lifting here in combat, as upcasting spells is universally useful for wizards. But the out of combat utility is very strong as well. I'm going to give this subclass an A, but for experienced players, feel free to bump that to an S. Moving on then, and we have the Occultist. Flavorfully, this is the Eldritch Cultist spellcaster who taps into the Lovecraftian cosmic veils. Reminds me of Doctor Strange in the What If show, if you've seen that. Summoning portals to alternate realms and giant tentacle monsters, and channeling powers beyond comprehension. Okay, so going over the rules, there's a major element at level 3 we need to go over. I think it's the attempt at making this subclass into like the chaos sorcerer of the wizarding world. It's called Incursions, and it's a bit complicated, so buckle up. When you cast a spell using a spell slot, which is a lot as a wizard, you can risk an incursion. Is it called Incursions or Intrusions? It's called Intrusions, and it's a bit complicated, so buckle up. When you cast a spell using a spell slot, which is quite a lot as a wizard, you can risk an intrusion to choose one of the following. Overwhelming Mind, where creatures have disadvantage on the first saving throw they make against that spell, or you have advantage on the first attack roll you make using the spell. There are no use limits for this, which is just broken, right? Well, not quite. Hold on there. Every time you risk an incursion, I'm going to get those two confused a lot. You check what's the size of your current intrusion dice. Regardless of the dice you rolled, on a 2 or higher, no intrusion occurs, and the intrusion dice reduces in size by 1 level. On a 1, you've invoked an intrusion, and you suffer the negative effects based on random table. Then your intrusion dice increases in 1 size level. This means the smaller the dice, the higher the chance of intrusion, and so you want to risk it as few times as possible. I guess the minimum is 1 in 4 though, which isn't too bad. If an intrusion happens, it means you roll a d12 and suffer one of the following based on what you roll. On a 1, your action economy is hindered. On a 2, it halves the speed of everything around you. 3 is basically casting inflict wounds on the nearest creature, could be friendly. On a 4, you and each creature you can see can be frightened on a failed wisdom save. On a 5, your arm changes and you could do a hell of a lot of damage with it, but only if you manage to hit with an unarmed strike, which, as a wizard, I don't know how you're managing to pull that off. On a 6, you're blinded. On a 7, you're incapacitated. On an 8, you take some damage. On a 9, you get a spell slot back. Woo! At the cost of some health. This actually might just be the best one, the only good one. 10, you and creatures in 15 foot grow prone. On an 11, you get disadvantage on ability checks and saving throws that rely on wisdom for an hour. That's not too bad and pretty neutral in most situations. On a 12, the DM creates an aberration or fiend with CR up to your level somewhere near you and decides its attitude towards you. Okay, small nitpick here, but as a DM, can we not make a random roll potentially cause the DM massive headaches and prep work? Just to handle this like unforeseen entity that's showing up in the middle of a fight? I hate 12. And all designs like it. Like, the player doesn't even know if they want to roll it, so they're not excited or scared to see it. And it's kind of like pulling the veil back on the DM's bullshit. Like, if the players are in trouble and you roll a 12, the DM might balance the encounter by giving you a friendly fiend. But the player can see this. This is player facing. It's just like saying to the player, the DM can do what they want. Okay, I'm going to get off this soapbox, but not a fan. With a few exceptions, these are massively negative. I think it's quite fun though to feel like you flew too close to the sun and risked intrusions too much. It's a built-in narrative and some players will love that. Your starting intrusion dice is d6 and increases at wizard level 5, 11 and 17, at which point each day you'll be starting with d12. Okay, so built-in lowered risk as your levels get higher is actually really nice design. It's better than the Chaos Sorcerer, who, to get more reliable, has to have entire subclass features dedicated to making it more reliable. I guess the other main difference between the two is you'll always get the mediocre reward and then rarely get a larger downside, rather than randomly good or bad things happening. You also gain a warlock spell and deep speech. Something like Hellish Rebuke or Armor of Agathis go well here. Shouldn't see much else particularly useful. At level 6 you can tear the very fabric of reality, but I guess only a small bit because you're just a level 6. You get a level 3 warlock spell, and here's the good bit, you can remove concentration on it by risking an intrusion, or automatically cause an intrusion to spend no spell slot on it. No concentration on a concentration spell? Oh, that got my brain tingling. Flying without the risk of plummeting is probably my number one pick here, but for reasons that will soon become obvious, it's a little redundant. So, the Fey or Undead summons are great picks instead. I especially rate that if you choose the Fey summon, this is just a better version of what the Illusion Wizards get at level 6. At level 10, you can roll the dice twice on the Intrusion table. Oh no, we're back to entire subclass features just to make it more reliable, aren't we? And you can negate the intrusion by gaining 1 exhaustion level, but you're probably never going to do that because exhaustion is far more crippling than any of the results. So unless it's going to save your life, I wouldn't recommend ever doing that. Okay, well you also gain one of the following 3 passives. You gain immunity to charmed and frightened conditions and can't be possessed. Meh. Or you can gain resistance to necrotic and psychic damage. For good, that's okay. 2 resistances permanently, nice. Or you can gain a fly speed equal to your speed and can hover. What? These are permanent passives that cost nothing and can be changed every long rest, or you can even change them as a bonus action by causing an intrusion. Wow, okay, these are fantastic. I guess the condition immunity is kind of a standout worse one than the others, but man, I think you'll be rolling into most days with just permanent flight, and then if you're coming into a mind flare or something that deals necrotic damage, you can just swap it out for that with the bonus action. What a powerful feature. And now I can just ignore the fact that the first part of it was just making intrusions more reliable. Awesome. At level 14, you gain Scrying prepared, and when you cast it, you can risk intrusion to make it more reliable, or to do it as an action. Okay, the Scrying skill is complicated, but why on earth would you want to do this as an action? It's not a combat spell, is it, right? Wrong! It is now. When you cast Scrying, during the spell's duration, you can cause an automatic intrusion to teleport yourself and any willing creatures within 10 feet of you to unoccupied spaces you can see through the Scrying sensor. Okay, this is very strange. The uses of this are vast. Way more than it seems like at first read. So you can scry your teammate just to teleport your entire party to anywhere they can see. Sure, that's a use for it. Maybe not worth the level 5 spell slot and the 1,000 gold, but yeah, it's fine. You could use it as a get out of jail free card if your team's losing a fight badly. Or you could actually just take on the big boss by himself in his bedchambers because you bypassed his entire kingdom and minions. All because you've heard of them? That's all you need to be able to scry to someone. Wow, I think this is the most powerful interplanar party travel available at this level. It's even better than the 7th level teleport spell. So, hey, that's cool. I do think you need a way of getting out of the boss's chamber, so maybe also take the teleport spell though. Okay, so overall this subclass has no duds in my opinion. It gives you incredible teleports, permanent flight, concentrationless summons, and the level 3 giving disadvantage on spell saves or advantage on spell attacks is so powerful. My only gripe with the thing is the level 12 on incursion results being a bit of an out-of-game headache. But besides that, the design of this subclass is incredible, especially compared to other roll on the chart for bad things options. I think this is an easy S. It buffs you in almost every aspect of the game. It's really going to make you feel like an empowered wizard throughout. I'm so glad we get to end this series on a high. It's been a blast going through all the Crooked Moon subclasses. Let me know what you'd like to see next though. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll catch you next time.